So in a way, that moment also called their nuclear bluff, didn't it? I mean, if you look at the way we responded, did it also call out their nuclear bluff?
Well, I think that was not an issue under discussion at that point of time, because if you see the dynamics of strategic escalation, what Pakistan had done in Pulwama was in the sub-conventional space. What India had responded with a preemptive strike on terrorist targets, also in the sub-conventional space. So there was not even an escalation into the conventional space of a war, say like Kargil or 1965. So the question of going into a nuclear space of escalation did not arise. That is a bluff or nuclear saber rattling that Pakistan had used 2 days earlier when it said that its a nuclear command authority had met. But that wasn't fooling anyone, certainly not in India.
In the book, you talk about how within the Indian government that preceded the Balakot, talks within our government preceding the Balakot strikes on Pakistan. You mentioned that you had conveyed to both Prime Minister Modi and then Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj the diplomatic options were limited. Just as much as you can share about how that, obviously how the government was responding, how quickly was the decision-making process gone through, if you can give us some sense, because we are very, very curious. Our viewers are very, very curious that in that moment, how is the decision taken? As much as you can share.
Certainly. Between the Pulwama attack on the 14th of February and Balakot, there were just 12 days. And I was here in those 12 days meeting, calling on the Prime Minister, the NSA, the External Affairs Minister, in fact all members of the Cabinet Committee on Security. I was briefing them on exactly what was happening within Pakistan, and the indications I did receive, particularly from the External Affairs Minister, was that something would be planned which would be bigger than the surgical strikes. It was also mentioned to me by the then Chief of Army Staff, General Raat, who I believe mentioned it to you as well at some point, that something big would happen.
Yes.
And deliberately, I did not make any more inquiries into that issue, but my political assessment or my assessment of the situation, I did share with the leadership that our diplomatic options are limited in terms of talking, not talking, stopping trade, not stopping trade, and those are not enough. We would have to go into the territory of using hard power options. I did share that assessment quite widely with our decision makers, and they clearly they had the same assessment in their own mind.
Final question. You had also mentioned in your book apparently that we should have responded with surgical strikes even after 26/11, and I haven't read that exact bit, but sometimes it comes down to a political decision, doesn't it, Mr. Bisaria?
Absolutely. And with the benefit of perfect hindsight, if you look at the sweep of the relationship in this century, certainly yes. I think having something like a Balakot as a response to the Mumbai terror attack would have prevented a lot of bloodshed and a lot of other action, because it would have entered Pakistan's calculus that the cost of inflicting terror will be very high on Pakistan and its security establishment. I have in fact made a deeper point that if you look at the entire sweep of the relationship and consider the 1980s when India faced terrible proxy terror in Punjab, in the 90s when it faced it in Kashmir, and in the 2000s when it faced it all over India, if we had taken hard power decisions in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s, we would have prevented subsequent use by Pakistan of proxy terror. And of course, the caveat should be that it also depends on the national capacity, the national will, and the national leadership at that point of time. But certainly all this has come together now for us to be able to have a suitable answer, an appropriate answer for subconventional warfare.
I would really look forward to reading this, Mr. Bisaria, and I would only say in conclusion, when I listen to something like this, as we move towards being the third largest economy in the world, we need a stronger and stronger geostrategic depth, which can only come out of clear and not confused political decision making. Mr. Bisaria, congratulations, and I look forward to reading that and talking more to you in the future. Thank you very much.